Let's move on and talk more about authorization. This is the second part that was described in the security overview slide. In this part, DB2 performs the security checks. For example, does user Bob have authorization to select on table my table? Within the authorization topic, we will talk about privileges, authorities, and roles in more detail in the next few slides. Let's start with the first item within the authorization topic. Privileges. This figure shows you a list of different privileges that you can grant to a user or group. Privileges provide a granular security where you can give a user just access to a given database object for a given operation. There are many privileges, so we are highlighting with a rectangle some privileges we will discuss in more detail in the next slide. This slide shows an example of the privileges at the schema and then table and view levels and a brief description of each. Note that if you grant control privilege to a user or group, you grant not only the ability to drop or grant this privilege to others, but also you are implicitly granting all the other privileges listed under, such as delete, insert, select, etc. To assign a privilege to a user, you can do it in three ways: explicitly, implicitly, indirectly. Something that may not be that intuitive occurs when you revoke a privilege which implicitly provide other privileges. When you revoke the privilege, the implicitly obtained ones will not be automatically revoked. You need to explicitly revoke them. For example, let's open two command windows, and on the first one, let's connect to the sample database using the user Raul. And now that I'm connected as Raul, I'm going to try and do a select from archong.employee. As you can see, I will get an error message saying that user Raul does not have the privilege to perform an operation select of object archong employee. Now let's go to the bottom window and issue a connect as well to the sample database, but this time using the user archong. After I input the password, you can see now that I'm connected using user. Archong. Now this user can select from the table employee with no problem, as you can see. Now user Archong is going to grant control on this table employee to user Raul. Now that the grant is successful, if I go to the window at the top and issue the same select statement, you will see that user Raul can now select from this table. Now let's go back to the bottom command window and issue a revoke statement. So I do a db2 revoke control on table employee from user Raul and press enter. The command executed successfully. Now I am going to go to the top window, and from the top window I can try again and do a select. From Archong employee, now you may say, well, you just revoke control, so probably this will not work. However, if I press enter, you will see that the statement still works. And this is what we are talking about before about revoking a privilege, provided other privileges. So in this case, we revoke control. Privileges that we obtain implicitly are revoked, so I can still select, I can still delete, and so on. In order to revoke these other privileges, I can go back to the window at the bottom and issue a revoke all privileges on the table employee from user Raul. And I press enter. Now I'm going to go up to the window at the top, and now if I try to do the select statement, it will fall as expected. These are some examples of granting explicitly some privileges to a user or a group. Note that last example does not provide the name of the database to run the grant revoke statement. It is assumed you are connected to a database. Therefore, if you want to revoke connect to privilege to the database, you don't need to specify the name of the database since you are already connected to it when you issuing the statement. If you want to work with the privileges in Data Studio, simply choose the table you want to work on, right click and choose Manage Privileges. In Data Studio, when you see two arrows as highlighted, it means that the user who is getting this privilege will also be able to grant it to the other users. Behind the scenes, Data Studio is generating grant revoke statements, and two arrows would mean that the with grant option will be included in the syntax.